Hi everyone, I'm Devin,
And I'm Andy.
and welcome back to False Pretenses. Today we are going to be discussing Charles Ponzi and his namesake, the Ponzi Scheme. A Ponzi scheme is a form of fraud that lures investors in and pays profits to earlier investors with the funds from the more recent investors. Charles Ponzi, born Carlo Pietro Giovanni Guglielmo Tebaldo Ponzi, was born in Lugo, Italy. Once he became of age, his mother gave him $200 and a one-way ticket to the United States. They told him the streets were paved with gold, and all he had to do was reach down and pick it up.
The American dream, bro. Grass is always greener on the other side.
Always. Am I right?
Also, this dude's fucking name, bro. Like, how much did his parents hate him? Can you imagine writing that? Imagine getting in trouble having to write that thing 200 times.
Imagine trying to say that for this video. As you can imagine, everything was not sunshine and rainbows for Mr. Ponzi. Almost immediately while aboard the SS Vancouver, he had lost almost all of the money his mother had given him, either to a card shark or to alcohol and tips at the bar. When he stepped out onto American soil in the Boston Harbor, Ponzi had an estimated $2.50 to his name and spoke little to no English. His hopes for a quick and easy fortune were quickly dashed. And as he wrote in his autobiography, there was no gold at my feet or yellow nuggets strewn about, only mud, plain mud, sticky black mud, an inch deep, which extended from the landing to the gate and beyond it up the street, as far as the naked eye could see. Just mud. And I had come all the way from Italy, over 5,000 nautical miles of deep blue water, to find nothing but mud and shattered dreams of untold wealth, easily acquired.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think I've ever read something that was such an accurate depiction of what America is. Just mud and broken dreams.
Mud.
That's me.
As far as the eye can see.
That's me.
Mud.
Mud and broken dreams.
Hey, but the grass is always greener, right?
Yeah, sure.
From Boston, he traveled to New York, where he struggled to find work as he barely spoke English at this time. He traveled to Pittsburgh, Paterson, New Haven, Providence, and finally left the US entirely to go to Montreal, Canada. This is where he finally caught a break and landed a long-term job, and he even fell in love. If only it had worked out, maybe we would have a different name for Ponzi schemes.
I mean, at the end of the day, I guess even trash gets to fall in love.
He's trash indeed, because get this, she was 17, and he was 26 at the time.
Oh no.
Disgusting. Can someone say statutory? While working in Montreal, Ponzi began to fall in with some rather unsavory types. First, these men blackmailed his employer into fleeing the country, and then later framed Ponzi himself as a check forger and had him arrested. He wrote in his autobiography that he thinks this was done out of jealousy because the person who set him up was also in love with this 17-year-old girl.
Good old 17-year-old love triangle, bro.
Gross.
Different strokes for different folks.
Pedophilia is not the answer. Once Ponzi was released from jail, he found no one would hire him with his criminal background, and at the encouragement of his buddy, headed back to America. This buddy sent him with 5 other Italians who were heading to America also. Ponzi agreed and was once again looking for his American dream. This ran afoul rather quickly, as he was arrested the moment he came onto American soil and charged with violating the United States immigration laws. These immigration officers eventually coerced him into pleading guilty. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison in Atlanta, Georgia. You could write the word gullible on the ceiling and tell him it was there, and he'd be like, what?
5 Italians, no English. Just ship them to America, bro. You're fine. You know.
Just make sure they get off at the right spot. Translate for them. You know.
Ignorance is never an excuse, bro.
It's not.
Never.
After these 2 years, he was released from prison and he went west to Alabama, but quickly realized that his fortune could still be had in the east. He moved back to Boston and even managed to get married to a woman named Rose Nico. It was shortly after his wedding that he came up with an idea for a legitimate business. He called it The Trader's Guide, which was a collection of articles and advertisements that he began to publish under the guise of the Bostonian Advertising and Publishing Company. For some reason, he could not find any investors for this idea. No one thought it would work, and for good reason. He expected to gain customers by simply blindly mailing this guide to as many people as he could afford. And finally, with no other options, he went to the bank to ask for a loan. And he states in his autobiography that he was told, and I quote, "Sorry, but I cannot approve the loan. While it is our policy to accommodate our depositors whenever we can, your account is more of a bother than a benefit to us. Good day, sir."
I've been poor in my life plenty of times, but I cannot imagine the humiliation of a bank just basically saying, "You are worthless to us. Please leave."
Dude, I just imagine it's implied when they look at my account balance.
But I could see why Ponzi had some red in his eyes looking to get some revenge, bro.
And he would have it. Eventually, he would own that bank and fire that same president.
Yeah.
Pew, pew, pew. Ponzi actually discovered his scheme by accident. While attempting to figure out a way to keep his trader's guide going, he noticed that he had a letter from Spain using an international reply coupon for a stamp. He noticed that the coupon could be bought in a foreign country and exchanged in the US for stamps that were worth more money and could then be sold at a profit. He tested his hypothesis, and once satisfied with the results, began to formulate a plan of action.
I mean, so this really just started as like a legitimate arbitrage opportunity.
Right, just like regular any other business.
So, like, what happened?
Greed. At this point in time, Ponzi's business resembled that of any other. A commodity was purchased for one price and sold for a higher one. Ponzi realized that his plan was foolproof, but there was a considerable snag. While he was able to make easy money, it was only extremely profitable if he could use excessive capital to begin with. For example, if $1 made him $1.10, $1 million would make him $100,000. He needed investors. He realized instead of reeling in one big fish, that it'd be easier to cast a wider net if he looked for smaller, more reasonable investors. In order to seem legitimate, Ponzi created and registered as a business. He named his enterprise the Securities Exchange Company, or the SEC for short. In creating this company, he committed fraud by saying he had two partners. One, his uncle, who he wrote in his autobiography would never come to find out, and another man who Ponzi already believed to be dead.
What do you mean, believed to be dead?
You know, there was no Facebook back in the day, so it's not like he could just check and see if he was still alive and posting, you know what I mean?
No friend requests.
No friend
no
requests.
Gram.
No profile
Snaps,
pics.
no nudes on a lonely Friday night, dude. No
Nothing.
wonder he's out here stealing money. Ain't got nothing to release.
Once Ponzi had his totally legit business registered, he set about finding his investors. In order to entice these investors, he promised ridiculous returns on investment. I'm talking sometimes upward of 100% in 3 months. And at first, he delivered. The first investors received their payment in full. This payment was not made from the success of the coupon sales, however. In a time crunch, Ponzi had instead figured to use the funds gathered from the second wave of investors to pay the first. This only attracted more investors, however, and created a surge of investing from the public. He had everybody fooled. I mean, listen to this. From Margaret Moore's Marshall, a staff writer for the New York Evening World. Whoever said that proud old New Englanders are conservative undoubtedly made that statement before the advent of Charles Ponzi. Today, all Boston is get-rich-quick mad over him, the creator of fortunes, the King Midas of the modern day, who doubles your money in 90 days. Did I say Boston? My mistake. I should have said the entire New England, from Calais, Maine to Lake Champlain, the Canadian border to New Jersey. Ponzi was estimated to have raised up to $15 million over the course of his scheme. Within a year, his scheme had collapsed. It took less than 8 months before an investigation had begun. And once word of this investigation into these profits that never existed, the investors made a run on his business, and he did not have enough cash to cover it. When he was finally arrested in 1920 on August 12th, he still owed over $7 million to his investors.
That's insane. I mean, this is 1920. Like, 2023, that's like $110 million.
$110 million.
In less than 8 months.
That's generational wealth right there.
That's insane.
Absolutely ignorant. Ponzi pleaded guilty of his crimes and served a 14-year prison sentence. His wife divorced him. When he was released from prison, he moved to Brazil, where he died, broke and alone, on January 15th, 1949. His namesake would be carried out by many others in many forms, such as Bernie Madoff, who we covered in our first video. If you would like to take a deep dive on his story, the same as this one, please feel free to watch that one as well. It'd really help the channel. We're going to end on a quote from the Washington Evening Star. Whether he retires a millionaire or is finally detected as a swindler, Ponzi must stand as a remarkable figure. And it must be said of him that whatever his game, he has certainly played it well. Let us know what you think down in the comments.
Yeah, we'd love to read it.
If you haven't already subscribed, please do. It really helps us grow the channel, keeps us motivated to bring you content just like this.
And if you like the video, give it a like. Woo! That's...